This video goes out to Spencer DeMarco. So the other day when I posted a time-lapse video of building out this manifold, which is kind of a common procedure here in California, utilizing these anti-siphon valves, which cost about 20 bucks. Spencer says that where I installed the male adapter into the valve body, I did it wrong by using Teflon tape, which is common industry practice. Spencer says, and posted a picture of a product from Odie, to use blue PTFE thread compound or pipe dope. And he posted a picture of it costing around $30 for 16 ounces and says that he's been using it for years and got turned on to that by his rep at his supply house where he's getting irrigation materials in bulk, and says that that's what he's been doing on his installs for years in threaded situations like that. And I said that's wrong, that's not appropriate, because it super lubricates it. It makes it too slippery. You end up threading them in too tight, thinking it's not tight enough, and you end up cracking your male adapter inside your valve body and having a catastrophic failure right off the bat. So all that nice insulation I got taped on there, if I crack it, I gotta cut that all up right away. And I'm not trying to cut into that. That's $300 in parts right there. So Spencer says he's right, I say I'm right. The next day I'm in Site 1 Landscape Supply. I'm telling this to my rep and he says, I just got an email from Daniel Hunter of Hunter on March 12th, 2018. And what it says is, it says that in some circles, using pipe joint compound is considered a recommended practice for threaded connections, which that's what Spencer says. In his circles, that's common. Hunter says that they actually recommend against using pipe joint compound. And right here it says, note, do not use Blue Monster PTFE thread sealing compound. And it says that we've heard of numerous instances of it causing threaded connections to split. And then up here it talks about catastrophic failure. And it says that male adapters should be installed with Teflon tape. And then it gives you an illustration there of using the Teflon tape, and it recommends wrapping it 3 times. Now, you know, wrapping it 3 times is kind of arbitrary because sometimes you get thick, nice, velvety Teflon that's, you know, good. 3 times is great. On this cheap, 10-pack for $1 at Harbor Freight, I got to wrap it like 6 times before I feel confident that that's going to be enough. So, you know, it's that experience that comes from doing it. But the bottom line is that Spencer, per his rep, per his information system, per what he knew to be industry standard true, was doing it wrong. And so we got to stay current. We all have a responsibility to teach each other and say, hey, no, this is the way that's most current. And so basically, you know, using the Teflon, the tried and true, that's the way. I don't like using the pipe dope where I don't have to, because I don't want that pipe dope sitting where that water, see, even though this is talking about, you know, irrigation for yards, like, you know, 4 valves for drip and 2 valves for the lawn sprinklers, there's, you know, even if that's not supplying a garden or something, that valve is still sitting right next to where it's going into the house. So that's, if that stagnatized water sits there and it's not being utilized in the winter or whatever, out here we're year round, so it would be, that pipe dope is sitting, you know, in that tube, potentially touching the same water that I'm drinking. So that's something to think about. Whereas if you're using Teflon, you're not having that, you know, it's not as much chemicals. But let's talk about, you know, Schedule 40. Let's talk about, you know, what's appropriate usage of, you know, threaded joints, glued joints. How do we know what to use when? When we're talking about, you know, general PVC pipe, usually we're talking about Schedule 40 pipe like this, and it'll tell us that information on the side. Sometimes it'll even tell us the date, so that when we're digging, we can say, oh, this pipe's been in the ground 20 years, maybe I should replace the whole thing. You know, as PVC ages, it gets more brittle. You know, when I go to cut it with a pair of PVC cutters like this, it cuts easy when it's brand new because it's got more moisture content in it. As it dries out and ages, it gets more brittle, and I need to be worried about that, because when I cut this in the ground for repair or something happens, maybe the crack is a hairline crack and it runs all the way back to here, and when I glue on a new piece or my new fitting's only to there, so I don't see that hairline crack, and then it continues to be an issue. So you got to be careful when you're cutting your PVC pipe. You got to have that feel for it. You got to know, you got to listen for, does it crack, you know, how does it perform? Everybody knows that when you cut old PVC and it cracks, you got to be careful. The other thing to think about is that every time I'm gluing a joint, I'm using primer. And it doesn't matter if you're using Odie or Spears or, you know, Christie's. Primer, I like to use the purple stuff because it's really clear on where I applied it and where I didn't. So when I'm in a wet, muddy hole, I can see under the bottom of that, okay, it looks purple, I got a good coating of primer. Now on new fittings, you don't necessarily got to use it, but it's cheap insurance. And then I like to back that up with a good high quality PVC glue, and Christie's Red Hot is always an industry standard to go to. Sometimes it can be pricey, but you know, if you get it on sale at Home Depot or something, it's worth its weight in gold. Now, if I was doing something where it was like a 6-inch or a 12-inch pipe, and I was doing, you know, more specialized, bigger stuff, and I needed a PVC glue needed to give me more time to set up, you can certainly get things. You know, if you need to manipulate valves and get things all perfect before it glues too fast, you can get stuff that'll won't set up for 24 hours. So there's glues out there. It's just having the industry knowledge of what to get and what's proper for that application. Now, that's talking about, you know, Schedule 40 pipe. Let's talk about, you know, when you jump up to like a Schedule 80 pipe, which is like a thicker wall. It's commonly identifiable by its dark gray in color, and part of that is the UV protection. This is good if you have a pipe that has to go above ground, so that it's stronger wall, higher pressure, and it's got the added benefit of not getting as damaged by the elements. It uses the same type of glue and primers. Don't get the Schedule 80 PVC confused with electrical conduit, which uses its own type of glue. And don't forget ABS, the black sewer pipe, that's got its own type of glue as well. But let's talk about the pipe dope, because even though this is, you know, pretty standard yellow pipe dope, comparable to what Spencer was using, the blue stuff that he has, it's probably a higher quality, higher grade, but it's the same principle. You know, there is still applications where that's appropriate, and that's like with like black pipe, you know, iron pipe that you'd use for gas fittings, or you'd even potentially use that for water fittings. Sometimes people might prefer to use galvanized in certain situations, but bottom line is that the pipe dope would be used in an application like this. So if you have a fitting such as this, where you have straight pipe threads and that's going into maybe a dryer, you'd put some pipe dope on that. But on this side of that fitting, that right there is a flare fitting. See how that's concave of a surface right there, and inside there it's convex. And as those threads pull that together, that's what seals it. So that doesn't need any Teflon tape or thread compound. You wouldn't put any on that side, but on this side it would be appropriate. And those are the kind of things that come with industry knowledge and, you know, being educated in the things that you do. Maybe you're not going to be installing gas lines, but what if one day you want to put in a barbecue island, or your client, you know, requests that you know, do something, your skills grow, maybe you become a contractor, you know. Over the years, I've been in business since 2004, I've learned these skills because of the need. Customers asking me to do this and that. That's why I know about ABS and Schedule 80 and Schedule 40 and gas lines and valves, water pressure, all those sorts of things. When is it appropriate to use plumber's grease or plumber's putty? You know, there's so many products out there, and staying current and knowledgeable is key in our industry. If you got any questions or comments, or feel that I'm missing something, let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch my video. My name's Kellen, and I'm out here landscaping in California.